Broadcom software on operationalizing experience for the new enterprise network. And, you know, I love the title of this panel discussion. There's a lot of words in there that I want to make sure everyone walks away with a real big understanding. Like, what does operationalize mean? Experience in network operation, you know, what is that? And then what is the new enterprise network? So I am very happy to be joined today with two wonderful guests. The first one I'd like to introduce is industry analyst from Enterprise Management Associates. Very long time in the network monitoring space, network observability space, Seamus McGillicuddy. Seamus, can you just take a second or two to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm the Vice President of Research for Enterprise Management Associates. I focus on network operations. So I am constantly doing research into how enterprises can best approach the design, build, and management of their networks.
Excellent. And I know you got a new report coming out, right? A 2022 Network Observability Report, October 25th?
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about this term, network observability, and I wanted to figure out what it possibly could mean, so I surveyed hundreds of IT stakeholders about their opinions on the matter, and then interviewed lots of Fortune 500 network tool management types, figure out what they think of the terminology.
Yeah, we should have a panel discussion just on that. What is network observability to you? And last but not least, Thomas Campbell from ResultsCX. He's the director of IT. He is one of our customer speakers today to talk about how he's been integrating user experience metrics inside the Network Operations Center. Thomas, please tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, I'm the director of IT site operations, so I'm the customer-facing IT person for our company. And this tool has been very helpful for us. Just now that we're broadening outside of our four walls, how do we keep that shoulder surfing type of IT support? And this helps us out.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so let's kick things off. I just wanted to set the stage. This is how Broadcom software has been seeing the industry. I set this slide up just to make sure my guests here could resonate, or do they resonate with the, you know, how we're seeing enterprise networks shifting from Broadcom's point of view. I think we all agree the pandemic has turned network operations on its head, right? The fact that a lot of enterprise customers out there and companies out there went from managing, I don't know, a half dozen networks before the pandemic, maybe a little more with branch offices and WAN and T1s, et cetera. You know, you have a 60,000 person company like one of our oil and gas customers from Broadcom, and they sent every single one of their employees home. 60,000 employees went home. You know what that is? That's 60,000 networks of one the Network Operations Center has to monitor now. I see a lot of heads shaking. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, it's insane. Every single one has a wireless network, and they're going over their own residential ISP networks. This is what's turned network operations and networks on its head. Of course, the user experience, we believe, is living outside the four walls of the data center today. ONUG Spring, I was up with the ONUG team. They know a stat, I'm sure Seamus might agree. I've heard 75% of the user experience exists outside of the four walls of the data center, right? Over ISP, over cloud, in SaaS environments, not within the four walls that we knew from years ago. So users are everywhere, resources are anywhere, and the internet is the commonality for delivering user experiences today. And that's why we believe the internet is the new enterprise network. So I'd love to know, Seamus has been in this field for a very long time. He has done so much research. He's probably forgotten some of the papers he's written. But Seamus, the Broadcom view of how the network evolution has been happening over the last few years, what has your research shown, and are we correct in what we're thinking at Broadcom?
Yeah, so these slides that, it looks like you designed them up a little bit for me, so thanks. I usually don't put my face on my slides.
Oh.
Yeah, so this first slide, I have a lot of data insights on these slides, which are based on surveys of thousands of network operations professionals over the last 2 years. And interviews with dozens and dozens of Fortune 500 NetOps professionals. And you can see here, 9 out of 10 enterprises are trying to monitor the cloud with their traditional network monitoring tool set, and it's not going very well. Only 18% of them tell us that they're satisfied. And also, there's a direct correlation between people who have poor visibility into the public cloud and people who feel that overall they're not very successful as a NetOps group. You see here a quote from a network engineer at a $15 billion aerospace and defense company saying there's a monitoring shortfall in the cloud. The data is not as rich as we want it to be. What is that data? These guys bought AppNeta because they can inject data into the cloud and see what the state of user experience and network performance and cloud performance is. But a lot of people are trying to monitor with old tools that are not really set up to get good data out of the cloud. We find that when people have good cloud visibility, they tend to be using active monitoring tools like an AppNeta or one of its competitors, who I will politely not name right now. They are collecting VPC flow logs, although those VPC flow logs coming out of AWS may not be as great as other types of data that NetOps professionals have traditionally gotten out of their on-prem infrastructure. They're using AI ops in their management tools. They're looking for tools that are enriched by AI, or more likely machine learning algorithms that do things like anomaly detection, root cause analysis if they're really good, or maybe just intelligent alerting and escalations, which is actually a really good use case for AI ops. And they're also integrating their tools with cloud-native platforms in ways where they can extract data or at least track changes to some extent from those cloud-native application platforms like Kubernetes and so forth. Because, and I should note that up until the last year or so, cloud and cloud-native application platforms and SaaS applications were a driver of NetOps strategy, but this year those technologies emerged as the driver of network operations strategies. Before that, the top driver of a NetOps strategy in the typical enterprise was server virtualization. Going back from 2008 to 2020, it was server virtualization. Meaning there are people still focused on adjusting their tools and their visibility and their processes to understanding how server virtualization was introducing east-west traffic into their on-prem data centers. And suddenly going into 2022, server virtualization was number 14 on the list of things that are driving strategy. Now it's cloud, SaaS, cloud-native apps. Observability can make or break an SD-WAN deployment. We haven't really talked about SD-WAN on this stage yet, but more than 90% of enterprises are engaged with SD-WAN right now, and only 47% of them feel that they've been completely successful so far in what they've done. And observability is a factor. 65% of them told us in our research about a year and a half ago that they had serious problems with the native monitoring, or if you want to say observability capabilities of that SD-WAN solution. And the things that they're struggling with the most are the WAN underlay. They can't see the WAN underlay from the native monitoring capabilities of SD-WAN often, depending on the vendor. There are, 30, 40 vendors. A new one came out this week. And granularity of telemetry. You turn up the polling or whatever on your SD-WAN platform, and suddenly performance goes down. People are always complaining about how they can't see events because the data coming out of their SD-WAN solution isn't good enough. And that's why more than 9 out of 10 NetOps teams are monitoring their SD-WAN environment with a third-party tool, or most likely multiple third-party tools, and less than half of them say they're fully satisfied with the visibility that's getting them. And that satisfaction goes up if they've specifically invested in tools that are geared towards monitoring internet performance, which tells you hybrid WAN is causing visibility problems. They can't see internet performance. 66% said that they're, you just moved ahead, but that's okay. 66% say that active monitoring is more important since active synthetic monitoring tools have become more important since they started embracing hybrid WAN, not hybrid cloud.
Seamus, real quick, can you explain active synthetic monitoring?
So people used to just rely on things like test, ping to figure out if something was reachable and responding. Now they've kind of systematize that with solutions like AppNeta, just being able to create tools that inject synthetic traffic onto the internet, into the cloud, add a SaaS application, trying to create like a synthetic application transaction, or just trying to understand what happens when the synthetic traffic traverses the internet or something like that, just to, instead of relying on, packets or net flow to, real traffic data, you're generating synthetic traffic to see what's happening.
Excellent, thank you.
So last thing, work from home visibility, it has you starting from scratch. Like, what was it? 85% of enterprises told us that they've experienced a permanent increase in the number of employees who are working from home at least part of the time. Like I talked to someone who said, we think that 70% of our people will come into the office now like twice a week. This was like a very large insurance company. And 15% will never come back. And that just really changes your network. Only 31% of NetOps teams I surveyed felt that they're fully successful with serving the networking needs of those people, not just like getting visibility, but also like building out maybe some infrastructure and for some power users or other users that we'll probably talk about in a minute. And the top 4 challenges they're experiencing when they're trying to get that under control is budget, no surprise. Complexity of their networks is going up because, you used to have like one network with 10,000 people working in it. Now you got 10,000 networks with 10,000 people working in them. You've got bad IT leadership. Apologies to any CIO types in the office, but in the room. But network architects and engineers are complaining about a lack of leadership from above on how to deal with work from home. And then finally, they just can't find the right tools. This guy here, who was that? That's a network engineer at a mid-market healthcare enterprise, someone that's serving doctors a lot at hospital environments. She said that she spent 3 or 4 hours on the phone with people just trying to figure out an issue at home. And she's a network engineer who's supposed to be, managing like the switching and Wi-Fi in the hospital's chain that she works for. But she's like suddenly feels like a tier 1 tech again because and she said that specifically after she's already paid her dues and now she has to pay them again. She's like, have you tried turning the router on and off again? 96% have allocated budget to improve work from home and visibility. But do they have the right tools? The number 1 response when I asked them, what are you using, was remote desktop access. And I got to tell you, like, I've been helped by a guy who's remote desktoping into my computer, and it's not a scalable process. So if you've got like 10,000 remote desktop sessions to solve a problem, you're not gonna get where you need to be. 19% of teams have embraced, NetOps teams as of last year had embraced active synthetic monitoring at the work for home user edge. This is a quote from a $10 million insurance company network engineer saying that like the number one issue he's trying to solve is it the ISP or your Wi-Fi, and he can't answer that question unless the person working in that home is sophisticated enough to try to answer the problem and answer that question for him. So that's what we're seeing. That's
a perfect segue too. I love that. Well, listen, I mentioned the evolution of networking, turning network operations up on its head. Seamus mentioned cloud adoption, right, and lack of visibility into clouds and ISPs. He mentioned SD-WAN. Raise of hands, how many folks are implementing or testing or have SD-WAN in production? Good. It's not easy. It's not easy to manage that. It's just a whole new language to learn, whole new technology to learn, and you're delivering critical applications over it. And then finally, work from home, like we said. That 15% of employees that were going to stay home, 15% of 60,000, like I mentioned, is still a hell of a lot of networks you got to manage. So I want to take this information that we just learned, SD-WAN challenges, lack of visibility in ISP and cloud environments, work from home challenges, and apply it to real world. Right? So Thomas, again, Director of IT at ResultsCX, he's going to talk about how these challenges have affected the core business of what ResultsCX does and how important the application experience and user experience is to them.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, a custom contact center, call center is what we are. And we're providing customer support for Fortune 500 companies. During the pandemic, we had to kind of shift our model and send everybody home in order to stay afloat. So with that came the challenge of supporting people in their own networks, like Jeremy mentioned, and how to do that quickly. So our business hinges on being online, throughout their shift. They're paid per call, and performance, whether it's their performance, their skills, or whether it's the network, the voice traffic, those are very important to us. So what we use that Meta for is to focus on the last mile, right, where we don't have visibility anymore. So us being able to see that if their network is down or if there's jitter, what's very important in the call center world is latency, right, and uptime. So any kind of blip in a phone call is where you hear on the other end, hello, are you there? That affects our business. So what we did is we went from 16 remote networks, 16 brick and mortar call centers, to now, this is 8,000, but we're probably going to grow past that. We're the other side of the spectrum. 50% of our people are probably in the office now, whereas the rest of them are at home. So that's the challenge there. And without that visibility or be able to let either our customers know, our call center agents know, or the ISP know where that fault is coming from has been critical for us. And again, we want the same quality at home that we were able to provide in the brick and mortar call center. For me, being able to support people, there's no more shoulder surfing, tapping on the shoulder, looking at them. Remote desktop is one of the things that we had to do, and that was not enough, right? We need to be able to ask questions or have the answers before we get to those questions on what the situation really is.
So wait, I want to say something because you piqued my interest. You mentioned last mile.
Right.
You mentioned a large number of respondents said they have no visibility into the residential ISP or home wireless network of their now work from home users. No visibility at all, but you sent them all home. And you still guarantee a boutique promise to clients.
Right.
But your network has grown exponentially, and 90% of it, you can't see it because you don't manage Verizon's ISP and CenturyLink's ISP, and all of your employees work from home wireless networks.
Right.
I can't imagine. So let's talk about the experience you've had with gaining that visibility into the last mile and still keeping that promise to your customers.
Sure. If you guys have been to some of the other Broadcom presentations, you've heard how when a ticket's open to when it actually reaches the IT team. So that's where it went from 20 minutes from us getting a ticket, researching the ticket, asking end users who may not really be technically savvy what's going on. Be able to triage that and to have that information before we get on a phone call with them is super important. So especially with 8,000 remote users, right? Those remote desktop sessions that are 2-3 hours, we've got to cut that down to be able to support our people at home. And now that we have continuous end-to-end network monitoring, and we set those thresholds, we're getting notifications ahead of time if there are some blips, if there are some downtime, if this one host is down or not receiving traffic, we know that ticket's going to come in. We can address that, see if it's part of a broader issue. For leveraging voice, jitter, and mean opinion score, MOS is something that's important for us. We're definitely voice driven, right? So for us to be able to make sure that even if we're not on every phone call, we can tell when we're going to have some blips. We're going to tell when we're going to have some echoes due to the stats we're able to get from AppNeta. In the meantime, innocence, of course. We have to provide that same quality to our customers, and for us to know that our uptime is tied to networks that we don't control. This is good for us to be able to go back and let them know, what, CenturyLink is down in this area. We'll route calls for you somewhere else, but here's the main part of the issue.
So can you imagine that? Knowing CenturyLink's having an issue and proving it with metrics and outages and performance degradation that you can show them? I mean, that's what mean time to innocence is, right? It's not us. I can prove it's CenturyLink. I can prove it's Verizon. We can't magically fix it for them, but, CenturyLink can magically fix it behind the scenes and never admit anything. And that increases, the time you spend looking for the needle in a haystack when it had nothing to do with your network operations at all. Yeah. I want to tell one more quick story, and I tell it a lot in the days of evolution of the networking, and I want to see what you think about it. So my oldest kid, oh my God, I've replaced like 4 bumpers on her car. It's insane. And I know I'm going to probably replace more. But in today's day and age, call center's going home, right? If she calls the insurance company because she has another fender bender and it's like, I need to start a claim, blah, 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 she's on the side of the road, the call agent can't say to my kid, I'm having internet issues right now. I can't get to the claims app in Amazon or whatever. I mean, that's not acceptable at all. I would leave that insurance company right away, right?
Right.
So the point is that whether you own the infrastructure or not, that your user experience traverses, you're still responsible for it. You're still responsible for CenturyLink. You're still responsible for Verizon IT, whether you own it or not. What do you think about that little, my kid crashing her car all the time in use case? Does that make sense?
It does, because we have to experience that. We're big with healthcare. We can't let somebody know we can't find their prescription or something because of technical issues, or they can't hear us, and we can't get the information that we need. So yeah, that's critical.
Excellent. So real quick, Broadcom Software recently we've completed a ROI report and interviewed a lot of Broadcom Software and AppNeta customers out there. I'm not going to name every dollar figure here, but you can see, not only I know Thomas mentioned a large 90%, 80%, 90% noise reduction, and some of the other ROI expectations you can expect from Broadcom Software's user experience and network monitoring. Real live benefits we were able to prove. You can see, when you have mean time to innocence, when you improve your mean time to repair, you're going to save millions of dollars in operational costs, right? You're going to improve help ticket status. You're going to improve the user experience. And when you're doing all that, I mean, if you're, future-proofing the user experience, of course, you have the ability to future-proof incoming revenue that's coming in. And when IT can be seen as a qualified stakeholder in the business, that's always a really good thing. Sorry, Seamus, your head's on there again in the bottom left. But, it's proven. It's not only proven with customer case studies. It's not only proven with ROI reports. It's proven in the industry. The Broadcom Software's network monitoring and user experience monitoring is #1 in many different categories, as well as even PeerSpot, which is like a Yelp for IT solutions out there where the users vote on what they like the best. So we're very proud of this. And I want to thank my esteemed guests here. Seamus, I've worked with you for a long time. I know a lot of other folks have read your reports, and your research is invaluable to what we do as vendors to bring solutions to the market for our customers like you. You help us guide, how we develop our solutions. And of course, no offense, but the biggest guide is going to be our customers here and how they understand the roadmap and what we deliver for the future to help protect their revenue. So I invite everyone to check us out right over there, Broadcom Software. You guys want to see a demo? We have plenty of tchotchkes left. And again, thank you all so much.